Hey guys, it's Wednesday, 8:26 p.m. on February 27th, 2019. And if you're like me, you are worn out by hearing about these horrible abortion laws that the states are passing and this idea of infanticide. But what I'm going to tell you guys is so disturbing here that it really, you guys, please listen carefully to this. I came to this article and I was just as disturbed as everybody else because I believed it on its face value. We are told by our president that the Senate Democrats just voted against legislation to prevent the killing of newborn infant children. Now, I got so upset about this that I immediately just dropped to my knees and started praying. And I had this sense that I needed to keep reading. So I came back up and I started reading about how this law would create criminal penalties for doctors who allow infants to die rather than providing medical care after attempted abortions. And I was bummed out reading this. I'm like, I can't believe these people are so sick. And I saw that they wanted to send all these baby hats to Nancy Pelosi. And then I read the bottom line, literally the bottom line of this article. It says the Born Alive Infant Protection Act was signed into law by President George Bush in 2002. What? I didn't know that we already had a law on the books to protect babies born alive in 2002. Did you? And then it says that this new bill would add penalties and enforcement mechanisms to that law. So as soon as I see something like that, you guys, I have a red flag, which made me decide to go ahead and read this very lengthy 4-sentence law that defines what a born alive infant is. And then I started seeing how sick and twisted our president and our political theater really is. You guys, because we have a law on the books right now that protects anything born alive at any stage of development, and it gives a very minimal standard of what it means to be alive, which thereby places every healthcare provider under the obligation of the full weight of the law to provide full medical care for that child because it's born alive under these circumstances. Now, I'm going to read this bill for you, but I want to tell you in advance here what we're going to find. We're going to find that this bill, which is only a page and a half long, this bill is a 1.5-page amendment to a beautiful, perfectly worded 3-sentence law. Now, you got to think, even if you don't want to listen to the rest of the details, I'm going to demonstrate to you how twisted this really is. You got to think about that for a second. We already have a law on the bill, on the books, 3.5 sentences. Why would they need to make a 1.5-page amendment? I'll tell you why. Because this bill basically, what it does is the penalties it assigns to healthcare providers basically decriminalizes murdering of a newborn baby. And the definitions that it alters here of the term abortion, where it makes everything an abortion except for the baby that was intentionally born alive and the baby that was coming out of its mother's womb dead, it terms everything else an abortion. Completely unravels this beautiful law that we already have. So let's take a look at what this beautiful law already says, because this beautiful law defines a person, human being, child, individual as being a born alive infant. It doesn't matter what stage of development they're born alive at. And here's how they define born alive. It is the complete expulsion or extraction. This is important, guys. So at the very beginning, expulsion or extraction from his or her mother's womb at any stage of development, who, after such expulsion or extraction, here are the 4 qualities that would make it be alive. And you guys, there is no more minimal standard than these 4. It either breathes, or it has a heartbeat, or the umbilical cord is still pulsing, or it has a definite movement in voluntary muscles. Guys, this is a really big deal, and it continues regardless of whether the umbilical cord has been cut. So this is what it's saying. If the baby comes out and the umbilical cord is still pulsing, it could technically still be pulsing because the mother's heart is still pulsing. This is as broad a spectrum of being born alive as you could possibly get, you guys. There is no lower standard you could get. This is the most encompassing protection a human being has, because as soon as that happens, now here's what that law is going to target. That law is going to target this part here. Regardless of whether this is where the intention is defined, okay? This law protects anything regardless of whether the expulsion or the extraction was the result of natural or induced labor or cesarean section or induced abortion. So it covers every single solitary reason that a baby could come out of a mother's womb at any stage of gestation. This protects anything that has any possibility of possibly being alive under the full protection of human rights afforded to an individual in the United States, the same protection that a 55-year-old man would have, or a 5-year-old baby would have, or a 5-second-old baby at any stage of development. This is such a broad law, guys, that any doctor who does not give full 100% protection, medical care to all resuscitative ability that they have, full out, we're talking incubation, all resuscitation measures that would be afforded to a 55-year-old man or a 5-day-old baby or a 5-year-old baby or this baby here, that doctor would be criminally liable for neglect, for possibly even murder. As the law stands, as this law stands, any healthcare provider that does not take care of the baby that's born under an abortion or a car accident, they're all treated the same. If the baby is born early because the mom fell down the stairs, or the baby is born early because the mom wanted to have an abortion, it doesn't matter. All medical care is defined as having to be covered 100%, no matter what the mother's intention was. I hope I'm making myself clear. This is a beautiful, simple law. Unfortunately, you guys, this amendment would actually completely re-alter that. It would change the word abortion to encompass anything other than the mother who wanted to intentionally produce a live birth or intentionally remove a dead baby. So everything else is considered an abortion. Car accident, falling down the stairs, full out 9-month abortion. It changes the definition. It is actually changing this definition. Right here, the physician is on the hook to save this child. Right here, it changes that into an abortion. Now, under those circumstances, it gives very limited obligation of the physician. All the degree of care required was immediate admission to a hospital. A healthcare practitioner present at the time the child is born alive shall only exercise the degree of professional skill and care and diligence to preserve the life and health of a child as reasonably diligent and conscientious healthcare practitioner would render to any other child born alive at the same gestational age. Remember, here they're saying it's born alive at any gestational age. Now they're giving it, now they're making a caveat here. Let's continue. And the exercise of the degree of professional skill and diligence to preserve the life of the child is reasonably diligent and conscientious healthcare practitioner will render to any child born alive at the same gestational age and here's the requirement, that due diligence required under subparagraph A, is just to ensure that the baby born alive is immediately transported to a hospital. That's it. That's all they have to do. Guys, that just changed the entire program of everything that's afforded to a baby at any stage of development to suddenly only having to be taken to the hospital. That's it. Immediately transported to hospital. And if they fail, and here's the part, this is where they basically legalize it, the mandatory reporting of violations. Okay, so if they don't, if they don't take the kid to the hospital, they will be fined. They will get a fine and imprisoned for not more than 5 years. What otherwise might be prosecuted as full-blown murder is now just being considered a reporting violation. You guys, that's the penalty. It restricts the penalty to just being a fine or imprisoned for not more than 5 years. That's, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like how in Ann Arbor, they never really did, well, maybe they did now, I don't know, but Ann Arbor is where the University of Michigan is. And it was always kind of known, like in our early 20s and when we were in high school, that if you got caught smoking pot or caught with marijuana cigarettes in Ann Arbor, all you'd get is a $5 fine because they're criminalized. The way that the penalties that they had specified in their law in Ann Arbor for being caught with marijuana was just a $5 fine. It basically makes it legal by giving it such a small penalty. So anyway, but then it keeps going on. This gets even worse because then it bars prosecution. The mother of a child born alive may not be prosecuted for a violation of this section. In other words, the mother who kills her baby born alive, she's barred from prosecution. She is barred from prosecution. So she's not going to be penalized. Of course, they add to make sure that that the attorneys get their fees, and that would be for the plaintiff or the defendant if this ends up in civil litigation, and civil action by a woman on whom an abortion is performed. If a child born alive, and if a child is born alive and there is a violation of this, that they didn't get the kid to the hospital in time, the woman upon whom the abortion was performed or attempted may, in a civil action, only a civil action because it can't be criminalized, this is decriminalizing infanticide, in a civil action against any person who committed the violation may attain appropriate relief. And that appropriate relief, guys, is statutory damages up to 3 times the cost of the abortion. Seriously. Seriously. They might be able to get some money damage for injuries and psychological and physical, but it's not murder. So basically, this law, had it passed, would have decriminalized infanticide by changing the definition of what it means to be born alive and pivoting it on the actual expulsion or extraction intention. Why was the baby expelled and why was it extracted? Was it for a volition of a live birth? Because if it's for volition of a live birth, then it's not considered an abortion. But if it's for if it's not for volition of a live birth, or it's not to remove a dead baby, then, and if it's extracted for any other reason, it's considered an abortion. And that, my friends, it basically undoes the beauty of this law. Right now, any physician who murders a child born alive has the full prosecution of the law. We are able to prosecute those people to the fullest extent of the law. This was an intentional, disgusting alteration of this law. And I don't know what else to say. I hope you guys understand. I'll put the links in the description, and I just thought I'd share this with you guys because this man is a diabolical demon. He's evil. And I don't think the Democrats or the Republicans know what they're doing, but you guys, you got to be careful. If you don't read the laws, you're gonna fall for this. And this is a lie. I'm sorry, Vincent James of the Red Elephants, but the Democrats did not vote no on an infanticide bill. On an anti-infanticide bill. They voted no on an infanticide bill. Now, whether or not they knew what they were doing, I don't know. But you did not read the bill here, and this is scary, guys. We have due diligence. I mean, if you're a Christian, you guys had better receive a love of the truth, because this is what happens. Simple remedy: add the provision of this bill to every bill the Democrats propose from now on. Hoist them on their own petard. And if you don't know what petard means, I looked it up because it's such a weird word. Petard means a small bomb made of metal or wooden box filled with powder. You don't want this bill to pass if you're a conservative. You don't want this bill to pass. If you want to protect babies born alive, you don't want this law changed at all. And yet, that's exactly what this particular bill would have done. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you, and that's it, guys. Have a good night.